Hey there, Internet. It's Karanda Adair with Carvel Digital, and I'm back with another awesome client to talk about the Content Bootcamp experience. You're hearing from real clients, past, present, and future. And today I am talking with Royal We. I'm talking with Steph Gaudreau, and Steph is a strength coach. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself and what you do, and then we'll chat.
Thanks for having me. I am a strength nutrition strategist and lifting coach for women in their 40s and beyond, helping them build strength, build muscle, and perform better in and out of the gym.
Awesome. So I have to say, I'm feeling very full circle about this moment. I've dreamed about it for a long. I don't know what it is about you, Steph. I was watching you online. You have this big audience, and yet you were really struggling with sales.
Mm.
So just take us back to the beginning, I guess, or the beginning of kind of our meeting and interacting, and what was it that finally got you to kind of pull the trigger on boot camp?
Yeah. Okay. So we first kind of got connected in an online community for other entrepreneurs, and I actually bought the pot of gold like way back, and then I did
The OG
nothing.
days.
I did nothing with it.
Common theme, yes.
I was like, "What is it? This is just a spreadsheet. Like, this is, what's so special about this thing?" And I did nothing with it. And I know we had had a couple of conversations in and around business, and it just there was a point where we chatted where I was pivoting in my business in terms of what I was gonna be offering, and I was like, "Oh, it's not the right time." And then finally we connected again, and it was like, okay, here we go. Like, I need Karanda to drag me a little bit, and I need to have some accountability. And that's actually one of the reasons why I mean, it's not the reason, but it's one of the reasons why I joined is because I really appreciate your honesty, your candor with people, like very clear in, your systems and in your strategies, in your values and beliefs in terms of like what you do and how you show up in your business. And I was like, I need some clarity for once. So I want to go work with Karanda. And so that's kind of how I ended up joining. Yeah.
Cool.
It was a while. You
So
wooed me for a while.
yeah, I did. Yeah. Which I don't do often. Like but I saw something in you and your offer, and I so believe in what you're doing, and I was just like, I got to get her in here. Um so what was the experience then, having been on the outside and
Mm.
coming in? Like, did it meet expectations? What was your experience kind of getting started and getting your sea legs inside a boot camp?
Yeah. I really appreciated the different elements that you have in Content Bootcamp. So first of all, it was like, yes, finally do something with that pot of gold that you've been doing nothing with. Like, um, this is going to be really important. And so that was key. The trainings that you have in there were excellent. And I think the other thing I really love is the ability to come to weekly calls. That was super helpful for me because it helped me to sort of say what I was gonna do for the week and then actually have some accountability for it. And so that was really helpful because I really started to pick through some of the bigger tasks in my business that I knew I was going to be, was shifting content wise. I was pivoting a little bit, but I knew that there were still some kind of big outstanding things that I hadn't taken care of. And there are those big, like, making a lead magnet and like setting up all the stuff that you're like, oh, I know I need to do this. Oh, hey, well, why don't I make another Instagram post because that's my comfort zone, and just kind of be pumping out content, which is sort of my downfall. I go to those comfort zones quite often, so I wasn't doing a lot of the things in my business that I knew I needed to have in place. So I appreciated that element of boot camp as well, and then having access to work with you and being able to chat about things and being able to work through problems and get a perspective on things, especially from a systems because you have that expertise, right, to really look at how it's running on the back end of stuff and not just the content piece as well. So that was overall super useful for me, to be able to finally start using the pot of gold. and then have the have that moment where I was like, "Karanda, you were right, the whole time, like, the pot of gold is so amazing," but also of, like, how to use it in other areas of business, and so definitely, like, a, "you told me so" kinda moment, but,
I did not
yeah.
actually say that, but, I do feel
No,
like a
you
lot of
didn't.
people have this moment, this journey of, like, not using it. Literally within the past, like, 2 hours, someone has said to me, "I looked at it and I felt overwhelmed and it looked like a
Mhm,
spreadsheet, and I don't like spreadsheets." Literally, someone said that to me, 2 hours ago. So, I think it's
yeah,
very common,
yeah,
and I love this theme that is unintentionally going through these chats of, like, yeah, I sat on the
mhm,
pot of gold, and then when I finally used it, like, it was everything. So
mhm,
so, and I also wanna touch on the
yeah,
thing you said about, accountability because it's not
mhm,
like I'm not, like, dragging this out of people, I'm not saying like, "Oh, you said you were gonna
mhm,
do this." I think it's just the fact that you show up at the calls, and I'm gonna be there,
mhm,
and I'm not specifically like, "Did you do this thing that you said you were gonna do last week?" It's literally just like, you have to show up and show your face and be like, "Okay, here's what went down." And I think that is, super helpful for people, like you said. So,
mhm. Well, and it's also
um
making the investment in yourself to decide that you're gonna pay attention and you're gonna prioritize it,
yeah.
right?
Was the community helpful in that, like, yeah, you were doing these things in your business that maybe weren't so fun, but you were doing it with other people? Was that helpful?
Oh, 100%, yeah. There is definitely that element of, like, I'm not alone in this, and then also, I'm a firm believer in the power of community and especially coaching groups, because I think about like the hive mind. We all together, like you're an expert obviously in all of the things in content boot camp. And there's also this really great ability to be able to learn from other people, to know that you're not alone. Um, I got suggestions from other people in the group who were just like, I was like, oh, I never would have thought of that. Like that's really brilliant. And so I think that that's a huge benefit as well is yes, like you are not going through it by yourself. You're not alone in your struggles and trials and tribulations. Um, and so that was a huge element for me. And then also just getting to know other people who are perhaps at different places in their business and do different things, but also getting inspiration from them is really cool.
So, what are some of the hardest things that you had to overcome? Like, maybe, you talked about pot of gold and you talked
Mm.
about doing some of these system things. Are there any other, like, really hard things that you kind of felt like you overcame within the framework of boot camp?
I would just say my own tendency to second guess myself and sort of, doubt, or just feel like things are going to be not too hard, but and I do like hard things all the time, but like kind of psyching myself out from doing stuff. Um, really looking at it uh, in terms of, well, you don't have to have it done perfectly, but you just need to have something done. And then we can kind of tweak and refine. And I think I really appreciated Content Bootcamp for that purpose of, like focusing on the things that are the most important. That's for sure. But then also refining things and like being okay with this sort of like work in progress, I guess, like working documents or emails and things like that in terms of what I was talking about, and also not reinventing the wheel and being okay with, because this is like, right, we're talking about content like that specifically. I mean, when I was like, oh, I wrote about that already. And I've been creating content now. You'd be surprised to hear this. So my first blog was a mountain biking blog. And I went back recently and I found it, which was just by chance. I didn't actually think it was still public, but it is. And I started blogging in 2008.
Wow. That is
So
OG.
it's a long it's a long time. And so I'm very familiar, I'm very comfortable with creating content. I've, been a blogger. I've been a podcaster. I've been a photographer. And so for me, like making stuff isn't a problem. It's like is it organized in such a way that it's there for a purpose? Is it strategic? Am I working harder than I need to? Am I repeating myself? Because it's okay to repeat yourself. You don't have to create, like, why am I working so much, like working smarter, not working harder, I guess I would say.
Mhm.
So those were
Mhm.
some of the things that I had to, like, I guess boot camp helped me learn slash implement, was that, look, you've already written like 3 posts about pull-ups. Why don't you just rehash something you've already written? But you didn't actually know it was there because you had no system for keeping track of it, and it was just stuff that's just going into the ether. So
Mhm.
that's been really helpful too, is just from a content perspective, like to align my content better with who I'm actually hoping to serve in the world, like women in their 40s who lift weights. Um, telling more, being more effective in that content. So, for example, telling more stories, which at first was kind of hard, but is getting easier.
Mhm.
Um, emailing my list more frequently. Like, and again, it's not necessarily like, oh, now I'm on the hook to like create all this like super new content, but it's just how do I use the content strategically across multiple channels? Talking to people more frequently. That wasn't, I mean, I've been emailing my list for once a week truly since like 2013, but I've increased that frequency to 3 times a week, and just finding like it's just easier for me to share things now because I have a strategy and a system in mind, and I know what my goal is. And
Mhm.
prior to boot camp, that kind of wasn't happening. It was like just making content just to keep myself busy. Um, so,
Yes. Yeah.
it's those are some of the things that I've been able to work on.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't have the pot of gold yet, you can get it at this link, carveldigital.com/POG. And I love what you said about being strategic, because there is
Mm,
built in to that template, there is kind of a check and balance where you put your offers in there, and if you can't relate your content to an offer, then you really have to look at why are you creating this, right?
mhm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like you, where they don't have problems creating content, but they're not seeing the results that they
Mhm.
want from it, and it's
Truly.
that lack of strategy that is the missing piece for a lot of people. So okay, can we talk about your audience?
Sure.
Because I
Uh,
I really count it as one of my great achievements of 2022. That you came into boot camp with a very large audience.
yeah.
Can you just talk about um, kind of the process that you've gone through to shed and kind of refine your audience?
Yeah. Ooh, this is a tough one. There's a lot to say here. So because I started I started blogging in 2008, but started my full-time business in 2013. I started an email list in 2013. My email list, and I'll be very transparent because I have no problem telling numbers or whatever. At one point, probably in about 2017-ish, I had 100,000 subscribers on my email list.
Wow,
It's a lot.
this is a lot.
And, along the way, right, I started off with a free blog with free recipes and free content. Like everything was free. I never even sold stuff at the beginning, which there's that's another story for another day. But my audience, 2 things. My audience was very large, and then also I have, kind of like, still people who are kind of following along with me, but they're not super aligned to what I'm doing anymore, right? I'm a woman in my 40s who lifts weights, and that's my ideal client who I'm trying to serve. Way I've amassed this very large following, and to be fair, some people have sort of pivoted along with me. I've had a lot of people who have said, I actually stopped following you and then kind of came back because I really love what you're doing now. So that stuff happens, but I've had a lot of folks who just aren't super well aligned, but I didn't piss them off enough to for them to leave. And I've asked people along the way, I'm like, you don't really seem aligned with like what I'm doing. Like, I'm curious why do you stick around? And they're like, because in order to leave or like unsubscribe or unfollow, if we're just using different terminology, someone really has to offend me or make me mad. And I'm like, so I have had a lot of people following me who weren't quite interested in what I was doing, but didn't hate me enough to unfollow or unsubscribe. And so that really made it difficult in a couple ways. I mean, at first I was really just talking to too broad of a person, right?
Mhm.
Trying to talk to everyone. Of course, when you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. Um, and then also I would get a lot of pushback on pretty much anything I shared because I'd have a lot of people that weren't super aligned. And it wasn't just people saying, "Oh, hey, like that seems out of left field for you. Like, are you sure? Like, that's what you think on this?" It would just be people wanting to argue with me about everything.
Mhm.
So, so in the process, like, I really started to hone in on, and I still have work to do in this area, but I start to really hone in on who exactly can I serve? Like, who exactly is my offer for? Who exactly does my content need to speak to? What are their beliefs about anything from nutrition and lifting to coaching and like their own abilities, like what they've been through in the past with other programs or other coaches, like where do they need to get to in order to say, yeah, I'm ready to actually talk to you on the phone or you apply for this program. So that's been a huge shift. And like we've taken that like so it came in with about 20,000 email subscribers, and we just recently um decreased that significantly. And we'll see, this is like the first week and I am, to be honest, like super terrified, but it's done. So that's okay. And I think the biggest thing I remember, well, one of the big things I remember from you is, we had a couple conversations as part of boot camp and stuff like that. And you were like, like you being super comfortable is like really kind of irrelevant in this conversation. It was like, you need to get uncomfortable in some ways if you want to grow. And I really appreciated that because it's just something I needed to hear, said in a compassionate way, as you have this ability to deliver, which is very singular. But it is something that I had to really um, challenge some of the notions that I've learned along the way too, where I really came up in the world of online business in 2012, 2013, 2014, where it was just like
More the
quantity over
merrier.
quality, quantity over quality. We just need to get as many people in the door, just absolutely hammer them with emails. And if they hate you, they'll leave. And like it's just very a very kind of metrics driven, but in a way that was just like, just get as many people as you can, get as many people as you can. And that over the years, as I've changed my messaging, I've pivoted my business a little bit. Like I probably have, it seems like if you just look on paper, oh, this she's just starting out. But hopefully with this different strategy, right, where we're really talking to the right people, we're really trying to bring the right people in and nurture them in a way that's, ethical and has integrity and is ultimately there to try to serve the ideal person who I know I can help, like that's going to result in better outcomes in the end.
Yeah. And it was definitely a journey. I felt like every time we had a one-on-one, I would just like chip away a little
Like,
more.
oh,
It's
this
like
one's a tough nut to
I
crack.
yeah, I really had to exercise a lot of patience, but
Mhm.
you got there. And I really think it's going to pay off for you. And I want to talk a little bit about why I was so adamant about this, because 100, and I didn't even know you had that many subscribers at one point, but even
Yeah.
20,000.
Mhm.
So the first thing is, you know, not that it's all about money and this should be the driver, but paying for 100,000 or 20,000 subscribers that are the wrong people, that's a very different bill every month from your email service
Mhm.
provider, right? Than, having like a few thousand or even a few hundred people. So that's one just like practical thing. The other thing is deliverability. as your list grows, people are naturally just going to fall off in their engagement. And that is actually going to make it harder for you to get into the inboxes of the people who are really excited and do really want to hear from you. So, like, these are some of the practical reasons why you really don't want to just keep growing your list at all costs. And one of the things that I teach people and that we do for people is setting up like automatic list cleaning, where if people aren't engaged, they're automatically going to go through a process that they're going to get removed so that you're keeping your list clean. So I'm just so happy for you. And one of my folks that I follow, Robin Kennedy over at Email Marketing Heroes, talk about revenue per subscriber per month, which is something that, most people have no idea about and don't track. But, you know, you have to think about, would you rather make like $1,000 per subscriber per month with 3,000 subscribers
Mhm.
versus like having a huge list and, paying way more to maintain that list and then not making that much money off them. So for all of those reasons, I'm glad that you finally came around. And I feel like, it was one of my biggest accomplishments. Um,
The
the
Instagram, that's another story, but,
Yeah, it's a work in progress,
it is a
baby
work in
steps.
progress.
The other thing that I feel like you've come a really long way on is what I like to call DIY-itis. And so, after boot camp, there's a lot of ways we can continue to support folks. And you chose to book a marketing intensive, and we did a short project where we actually helped you kind of revamp your email marketing. Can you talk a little bit about how that process was for you?
Yeah, and I'll just say best money I've spent on my business in probably, I don't know, ever. Like, honestly, when we first started talking about this, and you're right, because when I started, so I said, I started my business full time in 2013. I was a high school science teacher, high school chemistry and biology. I had no experience in business, no experience in marketing, none, like nothing. I was basically starting from scratch. I was making no money. I had no products to sell. The first thing the first money I ever made was from Amazon affiliates or Google ads. I can't remember which one it was, but it was something like $17. And I was like, all right, like here we go. We're making money online. Um, and so for that reason, I had to learn how to do everything. I had to I was bootstrapping the whole thing. I had to learn all of it. And so as a result, it's been a really hard habit to break where now, through the years, it's persisted where I'm like, oh, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. Now I could do it, but and now that I'm at the point where I'm at with my business and for the goals that I have, I can't do everything by myself anymore. And I'm finally raising the white flag. I'm even sort of to the point where I'm like, unless it's a really compelling sort of done with you offer, like there's just certain things I just want done for me. And in 2020, we moved from Infusionsoft to ConvertKit for a bunch of reasons, because that's just a mess. But I went to ConvertKit, and so it was working for a while, but there were definitely problems I was running into in terms of the sophistication of what I could do. And I'd always heard really great things about ActiveCampaign, but I was always thinking like I would need
I
to
don't want
take
to do that.
I would need to take 6 months off and like figure out how to do it all on my own. And there's just no way I'm going to accomplish this beast. So I'll just kind of keep, you know, like hopping along with ConvertKit. Again, it worked for what we needed at the beginning, but now that things have gotten more sophisticated, it just wasn't working anymore. And so when you kind of mentioned the idea of a marketing intensive, I was like, yes, because I knew just and again, I've learned a lot of technical stuff. I mean, you want me to like change the CSS and the HTML on my website, I can do that. You want me to do all these technical things, sure, I can, edit and upload a podcast, etc. But I just don't have time to do it all. And I knew that if I was left to my own devices, I would not be able to make the move to ActiveCampaign in a way that would be at all effective. And so I knew that in terms of like the marketing side of things from the email perspective, that's still a way that I can reach people fairly predictably, as long as they've opted in to be there and they want to be there, versus social media, which is still kind of a gamble.
It's a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot on the best of days, and it's just very, very, very noisy. And so for me, email marketing is still an important aspect and element of how I reach people. So I knew that working with you, we were going to get stuff like figured out and running, and I'm still learning, it just very recently I've been handed the keys to the Ferrari, if you will. And so I'm sort of like still like learning my way around the inside of Active Campaign. But I'm like, oh, okay, this is like legit. Like there's legit stuff I still haven't even like I've just kind of discovered, and I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. So it's really taken a lot of the pressure off of me to just have the experts do it. And because
Mhm.
I've made my share of mistakes with funnels and like email campaigns and automations and the logic behind it all, of like, oh, actually those people weren't supposed to get this sequence because they're getting double emails. Like, how do I fix this? I don't know. And so having you there to orchestrate all of that was like honestly such a relief, like truly a relief, and worth every single dollar that I spent, because I know it's done well. It's all organized. I remember when you walked me through the Airtable, sort of compliment to it. You're like, actually, this is like the kind of the control room, and like you can just click on the link and then it opens the thing in Active Campaign. And I was like, my brain just totally melted, and like, what? This is so saves so much time. Like, it saves so much time. It's so organized. Like, it's all in one place. I don't have to keep clicking a million things and trying to find stuff. So I'm just excited. I feel like we have the everything built, and now we can continue to add on to that, and like we're set for we're
John
going
says
we're going
steroids.
we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I love that you keep sending me DMs, like finding little gems. Um, so that's
totally.
always fun.
Yep.
Um, there was one more thing that I wanted to ask you about. Let me see if I can recall it out of the ether. Oh, yeah. So, how is your business today compared to this time last year? Like,
Okay. Well, at this time last year, I was still like my signature, coaching program was still in development. Um, I was putting the pieces together, but I had a membership that was very difficult to run. I knew that it wasn't, again, like, it was serving people, but it wasn't like the thing that got, I was super like feeling positive and excited about. I was like, I don't think this is the right offer. So I was kind of caught in this limbo between knowing that the thing that I was doing like
wasn't it?
it wasn't it, but still developing this new thing. Um, Honestly, every day I woke up and was just so lost, like feeling so lost and so frustrated with my business. I was like, do I need to go back and like get a job in somewhere? I don't know. Do I need a 9 to 5? I'm like, no one will hire me. I have finger tattoos. Like, what's going to happen? I don't know. So like every day was just full of like self-doubt, full of feeling like there's all these statistics that people kick around about online business and new entrepreneurs, and like, what's the statistics that you're going to make it? Are you going to make it past the first 5 years or whatever it is? And I feel like and I fully believe if you don't have the love for something and you want to do something else, you should do the thing you want to do. But I was like, I'm not ready to fold this in yet. I feel like I was contemplating that because it just felt like I didn't
Because
have
it was
any
so
options.
hard. Yeah.
I just was so lost. I was absolutely lost. Like, what am I here to do? What is like my life about? Like, what is happening here? Why is business like it's challenging, but like it shouldn't be making me doubt
Shouldn't be
everything that
soul
it's going.
crushing.
Yeah, I felt like my soul was absolutely crushed. So that was kind of this time last year. I was getting ready to kind of launch the program, and that didn't happen until like August. So it wasn't 100% done yet, but I was like, I think this is going to be the thing because it really, like, in terms of the content, like it really harkens back to just what I love. Like there's that element of like I love helping women get strong. You want it like you get me at a party, I'm going to start talking about like we lift weights and like why it's badass and like why I love it and why everybody needs to do it because it's just the best. So, I feel like I finally recaptured that spark for what I love. I'm able to serve people in a way that um, feels very aligned, like aligned to where I need to be. And now a year later, I'm not, we're like kind of out of the live launch cycle. That was the other thing, right?
Mm.
I was like launching these like small programs and then lower cost things and feeling like, oh, we got to like build up to this launch and then open the cart and then close the cart and now all the energy to serve all the people. And as an introvert and as somebody who just I love coaching and I love teaching, but I don't love that like the hustle of like launch and close and launch and close and to me that just was not appealing. And so finally we're out of that cycle where we're serving people, where I'm talking to people, I'm creating the content that's going to hopefully continue with the right people, but I don't feel like I have to. Of course it's work, but I don't feel like I'm on that hamster wheel and I'm exhausted all the time. So I feel much more confident in myself and my offer and how I'm helping people. It feels really aligned and I feel like I'm doing it in a way that is supporting me as a human and what I need. And, obviously like making an impact, which I think is important because I think we should do things in a way that is supportive and not like we feel like we have to do it a specific way or the way that we were taught 10 years ago. That just isn't relevant or true anymore. So yeah, it's honestly night and day. Now I wake up and I'm excited to do the work that I do. I'm figuring things out in my business that are still pieces that need to kind of come into play, but it feels a lot more like, oh, this is an experiment and I'm going to see how it goes, and if I need to change things I'll change. I don't feel like because the income is coming in a way that feels very like I don't want to say easy, but is more ease filled.
It's
Um,
alright for it to be easy.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
normalize it. Let's normalize it
yeah.
being easy, y'all. Like, and I think actually a lot of people get caught up in this because and it's
Mhm.
how we devalue our services is because we're doing things when you're doing that thing that does feel easy and you just wake up and it's effortless because it's what you are here to do and
Yeah.
it's what you are an expert in and you can just, talk about it and do it without stress and without thinking about it and you like this can't this can't possibly be this
Yeah.
valuable, but it is.
Yeah.
It is. I remember somebody in one of your posts commenting that like one of their relatives actually like passed away from a procedure because they weren't strong enough.
Yeah.
They weren't strong enough to withstand it. And so like it is valuable, like just because it's easy.
Yeah.
So normalize that, embrace that, take that win,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Take those coins, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love that. So, for those of you who are watching this, either live or in the future, and you're thinking about this and you're wondering if boot camp can help you get some of these results, get some of this clarity, get some of this accountability, community, all of those things. The link is right there. Go and apply. Like that's the way that you find out is you apply and you come and talk to us. um, and we will have a conversation and we'll get you sorted on whether this is the right thing for you and you should come in or if it's not. I'm very very open about saying like hey, I don't think it's for you, or I don't think it's the right time, or here's who you should talk to first. Like it's definitely not a pressure situation. So definitely apply, especially if you're watching this live, because we are enrolling for our fall cohort. That's when Steph started, was last fall, and now in like 9 months, like you're sitting in a completely different place. Is there anything you want to say to people who are in that? I know what it's like to be like looking at something and trying to decide like, oh, do I want to commit to this? Do I want to explore it? Like, what's your message for those folks?
I mean, I would just say honestly, just apply and get on and chat with Karanda because uh, we joked earlier that you were sort of like gently stalking me for a couple of years, but never did I feel like you were sort of breathing down my neck and, like pressuring me. And so when we did have that kind of initial first call, and I was like, look, I've just shifted everything. My offers are a complete disaster. Like nothing makes sense. And I'm trying to figure stuff out. Like, I don't think it's the right time. In that instance, you were like, super chill about it and you didn't pressure me, and I really appreciated that because I just needed time to kind of like let the dust clear a little bit. On the other hand, I will say too, like if you've had that inkling that like you need a nudge, you need someone who's going to um tell you, like, yes, having a coach can be valuable if you need someone to encourage you, but if you also need somebody to tell you to like focus here, like we don't need all this other stuff, like that you need to focus. You need to focus on what's going to help you connect with your people. You need to focus on the content element. You need to stop working harder and start working smarter. And you just need somebody to be like, I imagine like a kid is walking through the grocery store and they're trying to pick up all this candy and the parents just like, no, you don't need that right now. Like that's what Karanda does, is sort of like, you don't need that right now. Like this is where like you need to go in this direction. At least like, put that other stuff on the shelf for now and like go here. This is what's going to make the biggest difference. Sometimes we just need that. We need that external voice. We all feel like we know our business is the best, but we're so in it and so close to it. Sometimes we can't see above the weeds, where we're sort of stuck down in the mess. And so if you feel like things are kind of in disarray, you're not talking to the right people. Like if you do, if you have a program or offers where you do sales calls and you're like, why are these people here? Like, they're not matching my ideal client, that sort of thing, then definitely just apply. Like it's
It's
gonna,
just a conversation.
it's just a conversation. Like I can tell you, like, it's not going to be some hard pressure. But I think it's really important that if you're feeling that nudge, like you're done with the DIY. You're like, you've DIY'd yourself to death, and your inbox is full of all those tiny offers that is like a graveyard, you
Oh
know.
my God.
um,
Just
just
call them
like,
out, man.
you know what I mean? Is like, it's just like the thing you're like, "Oh, this download's got the secret key. This freebie is gonna be like the key to my success." No, you don't need more of that stuff. Like, you're just wasting your time. Like, we need to invest in where we want to pay attention. You will really benefit from somebody to keep you focused.
I always
You
feel
really
like there's that part of boot camp where I'm just herding cats. Like every
Yeah, of
single, like
course.
there's this rhythm where everybody comes in and they're like, shiny object, squirrel, squirrel. And I'm like,
Yep.
whew, okay, it's gonna be this call.
Yep.
But yeah, we all need that, myself included. Like, yeah.
Totally.
So
Yep. Stop
cool.
stop DIYing yourself to death. Stop getting all the freebies. And I know it's so tempting because everybody's like, and I recently I talk about this a lot in my own business, like with my clients, how there's a difference between information and implementation. And then I think also, like I just was recently reading Atomic Habits, and James Clear talks about it in terms of motion and action. So like,
Mm.
look, you're going to do a lot of things in your business. You're probably doing a lot of things right now that you think are you taking action, but you're just in motion, right? You're signing up for the freebie. You're doing, like you're, I don't know, doing all the things that make it feel like you're actually doing the taking the steps and doing the work. But that's one thing about boot camp is like, you will start doing the work. Like you're going to actually start taking action on the meaningful stuff that's going to be less shiny objects and like more like true, like the stuff that's going to pay off truly in terms of value in your business for like a long time to come. The stuff that's going to pay dividends, I guess, rather than just feeling like you're busy and you're not actually really moving forward.
100%. Well, I so appreciate you taking the time, especially because,
Sure.
when I started boot camp, I had gotten rid of Done For You altogether. And then I brought it back basically because of demand. And so
Mhm.
when someone comes through and does that journey of like you come through, you get that clarity, you take that action, and then you're like, oh, now I'm ready to like hand this piece off to somebody else to do. And you have the money to invest, right? Because you've
Mhm.
taken that action. Like that to me is like why I started this thing is so I love that you went through that journey and that you're reaping the benefits and will continue to, and I can't wait to see like what your next year what happens for you. So
Me too.
thank you
I'm
so
excited.
much, y'all.
Thank you.
Apply, come talk to us, and we'll see you on the internet. Thanks.